What's up, everyone? I've actually never done this recording podcast. I thought it might be interesting. This could be an awesome idea or a terrible. And I'm using software that I've never on my phone. And what's the worst that could happen? Hey, Peyton. Let's see. Hey, Tiana. All right. So, record a podcast. If you have a question, this is actually streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter all at once. My kids might come in my office. I've recorded a podcast while we had to go to the ER, and anything can happen. So, but that's just how it goes. And so, this is my little setup here. You can ask in the chat, or you can help Jeff at another71.com. All right. And editing at the same time. So incredibly boring. It will get incredible question or watch this beautiful disaster. Check. Welcome back to another action-packed edition of the. As always, I'm your humble host, Jeff Elliott, Kansas, by the grace of God and to the chagrin growing daily. I assure you, is Thursday, February 9th, 2000. Welcome to another 71 podcast, episode 109. And actually, also streaming live right now. So, because who cares? Why not? We have 7. We're going to get to 7 this episode. If you have a question, and if you're live right now, you can ask me. But email me, Jeff at another71, and that's Jeff at another71. Starting things off with Lisa writes in, and is getting easier on the 2024. Thank you for creating a great product. Okay. A quick question for you. I'm pretty sure I failed for the FAR exam or move on to audit podcast. You stated that the FAR exam could get easier in 20 years. Should I take auditing and BEC this year, next year? What are your thoughts on the idea? So the first part of this FAR getting easier 24, and the answer is yes. First of all, right now FAR is 66, and that will drop to 55% ahead of time. I'm not that smart. So it's about a 25% drop. You are going on or 7 simulations to 8. 8 simulations. No, 7 simulations. You are losing 16 multiple choice question. If it were me, I would rather have an extra simulation, additional MCQs. So it's getting hard, but more importantly, content perspective, moving from FAR to BA accounting, consolidations, sale and leasebacks, X regulation SK, R&D costs of employee benefit plans. That's the content that's moving away from FAR, from BEC is ratio analysis. So it's losing a whole blueprint up to 15% currently, and it's losing all that content ratio analysis, and so it's not going to become easy by any stretch. Like, I mean, it's like, for years and years, FAR, and it'll probably light now. I think there's a beer. Milwaukee's best. That's the Beast. Is there Beast Light? I don't know. So it'll be Beast Light. Personally believe auditing will become the new because auditing does not lose any content, absorbs economics, business, whatever parts of internal control we're on, and so auditing is going to become the new FAR, in my opinion. That could end up being incorrect. Never know. But as of right now, and so you can pass all 4 sections in 2023. That's January through July. If you believe you can pass all in 2023, FAR and auditing, and then first July through exams in December. So July through November. Then I would switch to auditing and BEC out of the way, so you don't have to take the discipline section, and you obviously want to get auditing out of the way if you can. So if you're going to take exams in 2024, take say regulation and FAR. Oh, audio is bad. Is the audio any? Okay. I think somehow I might have muted my mic. Better now? Can you hear me? Much better? Okay. Sorry about that. I had my AirPods in. All right. All right. Rookie mistake. I thought AirPods would be better sound quality. It probably is, but all right. So essentially what I do is, great, thanks, Doug. Essentially what I do is I will record a question and then put it in the, basically edit it. So all right. Just real quick, and then I'll move on to all right. So I think to make this less boring for those of you watching live, I think I'm just gonna just record the whole podcast all the way through and do the editing later. Don't know why I didn't think of that sooner. Okay. Christopher has a question about the best regulation CPA exam topics to focus on for taxation. He says, I'm scheduled to take the reg CPA exam in March. What tax or law areas should I focus on the most? All right. So obviously the easy answer is, focus on all of them, but that's not why you emailed me. So when I was taking regulation, I scored back-to-back 74s because I did not want to study AMT. I hated it. Thankfully, you don't have to study that anymore. And I didn't really want to study property transactions, especially like-kind exchanges with a liability swap. I was like, no. And so consequently, back-to-back 74s cost me my FAR credit. And then I thought, well, looks like I better actually study this stuff. And so individual taxation, it's obviously a large part of the tax area of regulation, but most people are pretty familiar with individual taxes. Either they do their taxes themselves or their own taxes, or they work for a CPA firm and crank out 1040s and are familiar with Schedule A's and adjustments to AGI and all that fun stuff. And it's relatively straightforward. But what a lot of people don't do is do more complicated returns that involve property transactions, basis calculations, like-kind exchanges, etc.
And so property transactions currently on regulation is upwards of 22%. So if you're going to zero in on one, so in Ninja MCQ, you can drill down into the blueprint. And if I were to recommend that you really make sure that you nail down in Ninja MCQ in the blueprint is property transactions. So, I mean, to be safe, make sure you hit an 80, like 80 to mid 80s, somewhere in there, just to give yourself a cushion. So property transactions is one. And then on the law side, I'm a big fan of being very proficient with agency law. And that was the law section that I really made sure that I was good to go in. And I still think today agency law can get kind of tricky. And so make sure that you hit agency law extra hard. So that's a tax topic and a law topic that I would focus on for regulation. Lou writes in with a question about the final day to take a CPA exam section before a credit expires. Lou says, I passed my first exam FAR last year, and it will expire March 31st, 2023, and I know I must complete all four sections of the CPA exam in 18 months. I still have a question when scheduling my exam. Can I take my last exam in March 2023 and get my score and pass in April 2023, or must I take and get a score and pass before March 31st, 2023? So the easy button answer on this is it does not matter when you get your score. It only matters when you sit. So if your credit expires March 31st, 2023, then you must sit for your exam and have passed that exam on or before March 31st. So you go in and take your exam, and then you get your score back 8 months later and you passed it, you're good. It doesn't matter when you get your score. All that matters is when you actually sit. So make sure that you sit for your exam on or before March 31st. And I would do it before March 31st. That way, if you get sick, give yourself some cushion. Now, all of that said, if you end up losing your FAR credit, it's not the end of the world. I am a CPA exam losing my credit survivor. And I thought it was the end of the world. I want to throw my laptop through the wall. Back then I was rocking an Acer. These days I'm 100% Mac. So maybe it wouldn't have been a terrible thing to throw an Acer through a wall, but I don't even know if they're still in business. I thought it was the end of the world, and it really wasn't. If you lose, so all of that to say, if you lose your credit, especially your FAR credit, it's going to be okay. Don't let the stress of potentially losing a credit sabotage your exam, because then it kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're so stressed about losing a credit that you don't study properly, and so you end up losing your credit. Don't do that. So people every day or at the end of every month lose their credit, and they're just fine. I was just fine. You'll be just fine. But hopefully it won't even come to that. So Arlene writes in about failing FAR 5 times and wondering if a CPA tutor is needed. Maybe not. Can't find my question. you're watching in the chat. So this is the downside of going live. All right. I'm assuming everyone in the chat can still hear me. Arlene writes in with a question about failing FAR 5 times and if a CPA tutor is needed. I've taken FAR 5 times over the last 2 years. I keep getting 72s and 73s. What do I need to do to pass? Are you aware of any prep or cram course or tutoring that I can take? I'm going to assume, Arlene, that you're not a ninja. Doesn't say. And so, well, let's tackle that in 2 different parts. So you're taking FAR 5 times over the last 2 years, 72, 73, you're really close. I mean, if you were like low to mid 60s, that's one thing, but 72, 73, it really means that there's like one area that's tripping you up. And my guess is that it's the same area over 5 times, but it could be different areas. But and you probably know like which topics you really hate and don't want to study much, or on exam day, which topics really trip you up. And so what I would do is, I'm assuming that you're not following the Ninja framework, which is just a more efficient and I believe effective way of studying. So I guess it doesn't say what course you're using, so this will just be kind of course agnostic. You want to nail the concepts, so get through all of your course videos or your course book within like 2 weeks. So watch all of your lectures or read the entire book over 2 weeks and take notes. And then, so don't do any multiple choice questions. Like most courses out there will recommend that you do like module 1, question 1, module 1 videos, module 1 questions, module 2 videos, module 2 questions, etc. I believe that's terrible advice, because when you get into like week 7 and 8, you're going to have to redo those questions. So why do we even do them to begin with? If you have to redo those questions because you forgot them, then what's the point of even doing them? And so nail the concepts, take 2 weeks, take intense notes over those concepts, and then do nonstop MCQ. So then you're done with your lectures. Then you switch over to your MCQ and take intense notes over your MCQ. So if you get a question wrong, or if you think that you might get a question wrong later, then write down the little fact nugget. So nail the concepts, intense notes, non-stop MCQ. Then we're going to rewrite our notes. Most people won't do it, but those who do rewrite the notes, I believe, is very beneficial to them, because what's the point of taking notes if you're not going to reprocess them in your brain? And when you rewrite it versus just skim it or read it, it connects the material to your brain better. So spend a week rewriting your notes, and then so that's NINJ, that's just rewrite your notes. And then NINJA, ninja. It all comes together in a final review. And so I would start with your weakest topics first and go backwards. So for FAR, your week on, so this 2023 exam, your week on governmental accounting and inventory. And so start with governmental accounting and do a 20 question mini testlet. You score 60. Do another 20 question mini testlet. Score 65. Another one, 70. Another one. You finally score 75. Move on to your next weakest topic, which would be inventory in this made up example, and repeat it. So start with your strongest sections, strongest topics first, and work backward. And now the second, so that's the framework to use. Like, I want you to stop failing FAR. I want you to stop getting 73s. That's the framework that you use. Are there any prep? So your second part of your question, are there any crams or any tutoring, course tutoring? So Ninja, so I own Ninja. I'm going to recommend Ninja. That's a shocker. But Ninja has both live tutoring and a library of hundreds of hours of past tutoring sessions. So, and it's all included for $67 a month. So I know there's a lot of tutors that are, want $130 for an hour or whatever. Like, that's fine. But you can get the exact same thing with, give or take with Ninja. Ninja Mike is live 4 nights a week. And so you can hop on with him. You pretty much ask him any question, he can answer it. So, you can spend a bunch of money on tutors, or it's included with Ninja. Cram. Ninja also includes a cram with Ninja monthly. Another good cram course might be like the Rogers CPA Cram. I don't even know if they sell it standalone. Actually don't think they sell the stand. They used to. They don't sell the standalone cram anymore. So I guess if you're already a Rogers student, then watch the Roger Cram. And so I would either watch the Roger Cram if you're already a Roger student. I know Becker has a final review, and then Ninja has a cram. So do you need to go hire a CPA tutor? No. You can, or you can spend a lot less money, and I think probably a better product. So certainly more vetted through a number of people walking through the door. I would go with Ninja Monthly, or use whatever cram course is included with your current program, Roger or Becker, or use the Ninja Cram. How are we doing in the chat? All right. Hey, it worked. Okay. All right. So if you have a question, you can post it in the chat. And then you don't have to wait till the next podcast for me to answer it. Josh writes in on YouTube, actually a comment from YouTube, question from YouTube, about whether or not a new NTS is needed for a canceled exam. What is the process if I need to cancel my CPA exam that is on the last day of the testing window? Do I need to then reapply for a new notice to schedule? So I'm assuming that you mean because we don't really have testing windows anymore, just with it's not universal testing. What's it called? It's continuous testing. Whew, got it. With continuous testing, but we don't really have windows anymore. So on your NTS, and I know each state is different as far as the expirations, but if you cancel your exam and your NTS expires, I think that's what you're asking, then you will need to apply for a new notice to schedule. So, I mean, that's the bummer. Back in my day, if you prepaid for more than one exam, so if your NTS had more than one exam on it and you failed it, then you had to take all of the exam sections that you had applied for that were on your current NTS before you could take your before you could retake your failed exam. I learned that one the hard way. So thankfully it's not like that anymore. And I still think it's wise to apply for one NTS at a time. But yeah, if your NTS expires, if I'm understanding the question correctly, then you'll need to apply for the new notice schedule. What is that, like between $250 and $300, something like that? So yeah, not ideal, but couple more questions here. Gabriel from LinkedIn writes in, wanting to know if Roger CPA Review and Ninja is a good combination for auditing. Hi Jeff, I'm studying for my auditing exam and was considering Ninja as a supplement, would you recommend using Ninja as an added supplement on top of Roger Review? Thanks. Well, I am extremely biased, and I think that Ninja would be a great addition to any course, but that's the easy answer, and that's the biased answer. So there's some CPA review companies I really like, and Roger CPA Review is one of them. I like that they have the UWorld platform, but also I like Roger Phillip as an instructor. I like that he teaches all 4 parts of the exam, and I think that he makes accounting less boring. I think he's a pretty solid, engaging instructor. And so all of that to say, I work well with Roger and UWorld. If you buy the Roger Elite course, hidden somewhere in the depths of their website is the Roger Plus Ninja promotion. If you like Google Roger CPA Review Ninja, you'll probably find it. But essentially, you get 4 months of Ninja free with a Roger UWorld Elite course. So, yeah, I think Roger and Ninja work well together. So to give the best answer that I can, I would say I would watch the Roger lectures, because I think that's one of the strengths of the program. If it is your first time through the material, then I would switch back and forth between the Roger Test Bank and Ninja MCQ, and I would do the Roger simulations. I would take notes over the Roger lectures and the MCQ. I would read the Ninja notes. I would listen to the Ninja audio. The Roger Elite comes with an audio. I would recommend using the Ninja audio instead, for a couple reasons. But well, one, the Ninja audio was recorded specifically for auditory learning. Unless something has changed with the Roger program, it's the audio rip of the Cram file, and that's fine. But I think the Ninja audio is better suited for auditory learning. During the recording, I'm assuming that you can't see any material, whereas in the Cram, like the audio rip of the Cram, like some of the calculations are pretty intensive, and you can't, like, just the nature of an accounting lecture through an audio doesn't always work. And so I would nail the concepts with the Roger lectures, take intense notes over the Roger lectures. If it's your first time through, use Ninja MCQ and the Roger Test Bank, take notes. If it's a repeat, I would only do Ninja MCQ and take notes, because you've already seen a lot of the Roger questions. I would only do Ninja MCQ, and then I would just rewrite your notes. Most people won't do it. I think it's a really good idea. And then it all comes together with a final review. You're reworking your questions, starting with your weakest topic, going to your strongest. You want to do 20 question mini testlets until you're scoring mid-70s, and then move on to your next weakest topic. Ninja Cram versus Roger Cram, I would watch the Ninja Cram, especially if you watch the Roger lectures for nail the concepts. I would do the Ninja Cram for it all comes together, because that gives you another perspective on the material. That's what I would do. And so, yeah, if you already have if you're going to purchase the Roger Elite course, there's a coupon code floating around out there where you can get and save money on the Roger Cram or on the Roger Elite and get 4 months of Ninja. If you're already a Roger customer, you can obviously sign up at ninjacpareview.com. Highly recommend that you do that. All right, going to the chat. Trevor, so streaming live right now. Hey, Trevor. Trevor says, do review courses like Becker go into too much detail of what you need to know for the exam? No, I don't think so. So even with all of the material that they cover in the lectures, they still can't cover all of the material. So there's the accounting material, and then there's the way that the CPA exam asks questions. And so even when a company like is very thorough in their lectures, there's still going to be questions that aren't covered in the topics. In the questions, which is why the multiple choice questions are an integral part of the learning process. And so working multiple choice questions in your test bank, it's not to quiz you. It is that's taking the concepts and then applying them to how the CPA exam specifically asks them. Now, so of course, questions about Becker. Do they do overkill on the lectures? No, I don't think so. Now, are a lot of the CPA review books overkill? Yes. Which is why a lot of them require a review course to walk you through the book and tell you what you don't need to study in the book. So if your review course has like a lot of FASBs and like a lot of accounting pronouncements and stuff in it, like that doesn't do you any good. That just makes for a more robust, more impressive book sitting on your shelf. I mean, if a FAR book is 1,000 pages, wow, that's pretty big. It's pretty impressive. And I think there's a fear among CPA review providers to put too much or put too little content in the book, because then they'll be accused of it not being thorough enough. So they would rather have the book have your reputation of just being a beast, and then they can walk you through what you need to study. So it's a lot easier, and just from a risk management perspective, it's a lot easier just to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, into the book, and then tell you what parts you can skip. It also helps justify a $2,000 review course. So yeah, hope the major providers, Becker, Roger, Wiley, Surgeon, Klein, Jaeger, I think they all do a good job of being thorough, but not overkill in their lectures anyway. All right, Flame, I'm getting to your question next. I'm just going to use Trevor's question in my podcast. So that's why I'm looking at the camera, or that's why I'm looking at my camera while I'm answering the question. So Flame writes in the chat. Looks like it's from YouTube. The ninja plan. So what's the ninja plan for BEC? I hate taking notes. If you hated watching lectures, then I could say, well, then there's the MCQ approach, which is basically, I think it's even known as like the lazy man approach online. I could be wrong about that. But the MCQ approach is to just punt lectures. So I don't recommend punting taking notes, but here's why. First of all, taking notes will keep you engaged while you are studying, because CPA review material, accounting material, extremely boring. It helps like keep you doing something. Don't recommend highlighting and all that. You can if you want, but taking notes is where it's at. Now, so you can't punt taking notes. Well, you can on the nail the concepts phase. That's okay. If you're gonna watch videos and not take notes, fine. I'm not gonna be dogmatic about it. But when you're working MCQ, you must take notes, because you miss a question, and it doesn't have to. You don't have to write War and Peace. Actually, never read that book. I just know it's really long. But take a legal pad, draw a line down the middle, make little bullet points down the deal, and like whatever little nugget the question is asking, like whatever little fact nugget, write it down, especially if you miss it. Like if you know it, don't write it down. It's fine. If you guess, or if you think you're going to miss it later, write it down. It takes a little bit more time. It's a pain in the butt. I get it. If you're not going to take notes of the lectures, then I believe that you must then rewrite the ninja notes. So you asked about the ninja plan for BEC. You don't have to take notes, but you must rewrite the ninja notes. So, and I mean, there's people who have passed just by reading the ninja notes. And I know that because they've emailed me. Not a best practice. I would never recommend it. So that's what I would do. So if you're not going to take notes, definitely rewrite the ninja notes. All right, Grant. So I'm just going to answer this in the chat and not record it, because I don't really have a good answer. There used to be what was that little the eyeball trick? There used to be the eyeball trick, and I don't know if the eyeball trick is still live anymore. So I don't know if the eyeball trick is still a thing. So is there a way to know if you passed early? I mean, once upon a time, I called NASBA and harassed. I just kept going down the extension, like trying to, tell my sad story and just trying to get a hint, like, give me a hint, and I finally got one nice customer service person to be like, I think you're going to have a good day. Goodbye. So Sorry, Grant, I don't have a good answer for you. I thought I read that the eyeball trick doesn't work anymore, but since I'm not a CPA candidate, I never really got into it too much because, I didn't have to worry about it. Amr, sorry, says, I like your videos while preparing for my CPA. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that comment. All right. Trevor. Trevor writes in the chat, I've heard many ways to effectively study. It seems like I watch the lectures, take notes, and I'm almost brain dead by the time I do the MCQs. How can I get around this? The only way to get around being brain dead from the lectures and taking notes is just to set a firm drop dead date on 2 weeks. So, or I have 14 days to get through all of my lectures. And then if I don't, then I'm punting. And you really have to do that because otherwise your lectures will just drag out for 4 weeks. And then you cut yourself short on the MCQ, you cut yourself short on the review. And then what are you doing? You're going to reschedule your exam. And then that cycle just repeats itself. And then, it's a mess. So the only way to get around and also if you have a kind of a drop dead date, then you really force yourself to be more efficient. And you can't just take you want to take summary notes. You don't want to write down everything because then what's the point? And so having a budget, okay, so sorry. Sorry about that. I muted it in the podcast, but not on the live. You have to, having a timeline forces you to really be intentional with your notes. Yeah, Flame says, you're right. The eyeball trick is gone. Why'd they have to go and do that? Why'd they have to take away the one bright light, the one thing that CPA candidates had to look forward to, the one life raft? I'm sure it was an accident. All right, so this is gonna be the last question. If you have a question in the chat, go ahead and submit it now. Thanks for watching. I may or may not do this again. I made a few mistakes along the way here. Andrew writes in with a question about which tax law is tested on Reg in 2023. Unfortunately, I did not pass Reg this go around. I received a 73. I want to take it while the material is fresh in my mind. I did have a question. Will the 2022 rules remain applicable for Reg, or will the 2023 rules go into effect? So on the 2023 regulation section of the CPA exam, 2022 tax law will be tested through June 30th, 2023. So for FAR, BEC, and auditing, normally they test the new material January 1st. But tax is the exception because according to AICPA policy on pronouncements, they the new rules or regulations are testable on the CPA exam 6 months after their enactment date, which is when it went into law, or which is when it was written, or the effective date, whichever is later. So the effective date for 2023 tax law is January 1st, which always means that the CPA exam testability date for tax law is July 1st. So it's one of the things that always happens in July. New tax laws are being tested. Normally it's not a big deal. 2017 with the TCJA was a mess, but most of the time it's not a big deal. Trevor says, thank you for the advice. There are not many people that are willing to give the time that you did. Hey, you know, the advice might be worth what you pay for it, but I enjoy doing it. So thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Makes it so it's not a totally dead live. So I appreciate it, Trevor. All right. So we're going to wrap it up here. All right, well, that does it for this edition of the Another 71 podcast. If you have a question, you can email me, jeff@another71.com. That is jeff@another71.com. And as always, here to help. Until next time, everyone, be good, take care, and I will talk to you soon. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your questions. Appreciate it. And you can always email me, jeff@another71.com. And